Okay, so someone sent in this YouTube video.
It's wild. It's like a whole lecture on what the church is actually for in the community. Like, what's its real purpose out there?
Yeah,
Huge question, right?
absolutely.
But here's the thing.
It's not just, some random lecture.
Right.
This one's from a Haitian pastor's point of view.
Oh, wow.
Which I gotta say adds a whole other layer to everything.
I bet. Totally agree with you on that. I think you're going to find...
It brings a really unique perspective.
I think so, too.
So let's just dive right in.
Okay.
He starts off defining the church, right?
And immediately he's like, hold up. Everybody, forget buildings for a sec.
Oh,
This isn't about bricks and mortar.
right.
And then he uses this metaphor.
It's like the church is this living organism.
Okay.
And he traces it like way back all the way to the Old Testament.
Interesting. So what I'm finding fascinating here
Is how he's emphasizing that Jesus is like the bedrock of it all.
Yeah.
The cornerstone this whole structure is built on. It's like he's saying, look, you can't talk about what the church does unless you get what it's built on.
Right.
Its foundation.
It's like he's laying this groundwork first.
Exactly.
Historically, theologically,
Yeah.
before he even gets into like the purpose, the function, all that.
He's setting the stage.
He's saying, here are the roots.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about what grows from them.
Okay. I like that.
So then he gets into this idea of a dual role,
Okay.
what happens inside the church.
And then its impact outside its walls.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
He actually brings up Acts 2.42.
Where it talks about teaching fellowship communion prayer?
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff that we're pretty familiar with seeing in churches today.
Right, like the core stuff.
It's like he's saying these core practices, this internal stuff.
It's not just going through the motions. This is
Right.
about building people up,
Okay.
strengthening the members.
Yeah, like that internal foundation.
Exactly.
But here's where he throws us a curveball.
Okay.
He brings up some recent research by Barna.
And it suggests that a lot of people, and this was surprising to me,
What's that?
they don't actually see the church as the go-to solution for community problems.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Even if they're religious themselves?
Give them men.
Seriously. I just figure, like, when it comes to that kind of stuff, faith communities, they'd be, like, top of mind.
You'd think, right.
Yeah.
But nope. It's actually kind of wild.
Government programs? Those were the top choice.
Oh, wow.
Even for religious folks.
No way.
And NGOs, too. Those were up there.
Huh. That's interesting.
Really makes you think, huh?
It does. It does. Like, listeners, I gotta ask.
Does this resonate with you guys at all?
Is this like, yeah, no, duh? Or is this blowing your mind because it kind of did for me?
Right.
Hit us up on social media. Let's keep this conversation going.
Yeah, let us know.
But okay, so back to our pastor.
Okay.
So he uses this whole research thing to point out like how a church's role...
It's not one size fits all, know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It really depends on the context.
Totally. Like he's coming from Haiti, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here, but I bet the church there...
It's got to play a way different role than what we see like here in the States.
100%.
Yeah.
He actually talks about that. He says like...
In places with a strong social safety net, people are naturally going to look to those systems first.
Yeah. That's just kind of how we're wired, right?
Yeah, but in Haiti,
Where those supports might not be there.
he says the church often steps in, fills those gaps.
Wow. So it's like recognizing what the community actually needs
Uh-huh.
and then being that. I like that.
But it gets even more nuanced.
Okay.
Hold on to your hats.
All right, ready.
He adds this other layer, and it's something a lot of people wrestle with.
What's that?
He's wary of churches focusing so much on social programs.
That it actually dilutes the gospel message.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not that he's against, like, helping people or anything.
No, not at all.
It's more about...
How do you balance that with also pointing to something bigger?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not either, it's both hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that.
He uses this phrase I thought was really interesting.
Okay, what's that?
He talks about gospelizing the social.
Gospelizing the social. Okay, I gotta be honest.
I kind of like the sound of it, but...
It's a little jargony.
Yeah, can we unpack that a little bit?
For sure. So imagine socializing the gospel first.
Okay.
That's like when you're so focused on the social programs.
That the message of faith, salvation through Christ,
It takes a backseat. It gets lost.
almost like the good deeds become the main thing
Yeah.
instead of them being driven by something deeper.
Right. And he's saying that leads to a weaker faith in the end.
Okay, I get that.
But gospelizing the social
That's different. That's approaching those same actions.
from a place of faith, always leading back to Christ.
So it's like saying, look, we're helping you, we're fighting for justice.
But all of this comes from a place of believing in something bigger.
Yes. It's about caring for the whole person, you know?
Body and soul, always pointing back to Christ.
Because ultimately that's where the real transformation is.
That's the heart of it.
Yeah.
He even quotes Charles Spurgeon.
What's he say?
The main thing is to win souls.
It's easy to lose sight of that sometimes.
It is. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day.
But that's why he's bringing it back to this.
Yeah. It's not about ignoring the needs around us.
But it's also not letting them overshadow that core message.
He's calling for balance, basically.
Full hand, not either.
Exactly. Social action evangelism.
Two sides of the same coin.
I like that. Okay, so he's covered a lot of ground here,
He has.
but he doesn't stop there.
Oh no. He keeps going.
He brings up this idea of the prophetic role of the church.
This is where it gets really good.
Okay, what's he talking about there?
So this isn't about like predicting the future or anything.
It's about speaking truth to power, standing up for what's right, even when it's hard, even when it's unpopular.
So it's like being a voice for those who don't have one.
Yes,
Challenging injustice.
holding up those godly standards, even when, or maybe especially when,
It's the hardest.
he connects this to 1 Timothy 3.
Where it calls the church the pillar and support of the truth.
Wow.
It's about being grounded in something bigger than ourselves.
Unmovable, you know?
Yeah, like that image of a pillar.
Exactly.
It's powerful. It really gets you thinking right.
It does.
It's like when he talks about it being this pillar,
Uh-huh.
that image just really sticks with you.
Yeah, it represents strength, you know,
Yes.
stability.
In a world that often feels anything but stable.
And he doesn't stop there.
Oh no.
He takes it even further. He brings it back to Isaiah.
Who condemned those who call evil good?
Wow.
That's a heavy one.
It is. It's like he's saying you can't just sit on the sidelines.
You gotta take a stand.
Exactly. You know, for me, it's like,
When you see someone being treated unfairly,
yeah,
you have a choice. You can stay silent or you can speak up.
even if it's scary,
Yeah.
even if your voice shakes a little,
Yes. And he's calling on the church to be that voice.
to refuse to look the other way when things aren't right.
And it's not just about words either.
Right. He's talking about action, too.
Embodying those principles in everything you do.
He really calls us out on that, doesn't he?
He does. He asks this really pointed question.
There's that.
He says, what difference are we making?
Oof. That one hit me hard.
Me too. It's so easy to just get caught up in our own little bubbles.
Right. It's like a good kick in the pants to remind us to look outward.
To be intentional, to actually do something.
Yeah, to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just talk about it.
He's not necessarily talking about these grand gestures, though.
Right. Like, it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing.
It's the little things. It's choosing kindness in your everyday life.
Being that example of Christ's love.
Yes, it's about service. It's about putting others first.
It reminds me of something else he said about humility.
Oh!
Like, we don't have all the answers.
Right, we're all equal in God's eyes.
And that changes things, doesn't it?
It really does.
Because then it's not about what can I get anymore. It's what can I give.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a complete shift in perspective.
And that's countercultural for sure.
100%. But it's at the core of what it means to follow Christ.
So much of this pastor's message for me, it's about getting back to those basics.
It's the heart of it all.
Remembering that it's not about buildings or programs.
It's about people.
Yeah, it's about loving God and loving your neighbor.
And in today's world, that's a radical act.
It is. It's challenging, but man, is it hopeful.
Because when we choose that,
When we choose love over apathy and justice over indifference,
we tap into something so much bigger than ourselves.
we become that city on a hill, that shining light.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It is. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
I think the question we're left with is, how will you respond?
how will this pastor's message challenge you,
Inspire you?
move you to action
How will you be a part of the solution in your own way?
in your own community?
Those are questions worth thinking about. Thanks for diving in with us today, everyone.
And we'll catch you next time for another deep dive.